I was laying in bed last night thinking about City Skylines, as I often do, and I realized that when we built all of the industry, I said we would come back to it eventually and do something interesting with it. Or that we would, at the very least, finish the industrial spaces. And I'm fairly sure I said the same thing about the university that we built here as well. In fact, I'm pretty sure I said that about the last university that I built in the last city, and thus far we haven't finished either of those. So what I want to get started with today is relatively simple. I want to get things like the industrial steel plant in here. I want to get the lemonade factory. I want to get the soft paper factory, the car factory, the food factory, and the sneaker factory. And I would build the shipyard, but right now we only have a big old river down here, and that's not going to be too good for a shipyard, at least not right now, although I do have some ideas, and it might involve this beach, but we'll deal with that when we deal with it. My main thing is just getting these factories in here that we don't have and doing it in a way that's just going to be sort of interesting. I want to give the factories a little bit more space than I've been giving them so far because I think that's going to look a little bit more interesting. So what I'm going to start with is just bringing some dirt roads off of this existing highway. And I always forget how far I have to scroll through here for the dirt roads. But we'll go to here. We'll go something like 30 units. We'll go, what is that, 40 that way. And I'm going to go about 40 this. In fact, you know what? We'll just do 40 that way for now. And what I'm thinking I want to do is actually move the modular house factory because I really don't like the space that it's in. This space in general is quite difficult to build in, and this thing just looks weird in there. So my thinking is this could live essentially right there. And yes, it flattens out the terrain a little bit, but I don't mind that too much. We can totally work with that. And what we can also do is just flatten out a little bit more of the terrain here because I want to get some parking lots here. I think that'll help make this thing look a little bit better. In fact, I'm just going to bring the terrain right up like this, just around the entire thing. And then all I need to do is come across here with another road, but I'm going to go ahead and leave an extra gap here so that I can do some paths along this factory as well. So this will be our road for parking lots. And if I go in here, we can just use these guys right here. We'll just do a bunch of these wider parking lots. I could do one at the end there as well. I think we'll pass on that. But if we go in here, we can just get ourselves any one of these paths. And honestly, I'm probably just going to go for the regular park path, although we could play around with some of the university ones if we wanted some different types of lamps on them, which I think we'll just try the university ones out. So we'll bring this guy over to, I want to say about there, and I'm going to see if I can bring a little road sort of up and around this as well. So we'll bring a road up to here. We'll connect these guys together and we'll just bring this path over. Is that a little bit further to there? And then what I can do is just simply go in there and replace some sections of that road. Now I could go for a road with a median. I think what I'll do is just go with the road with the sidewalks for now, and we'll just change all of this out just like that. We'll swap you out as well. And then this right here can just be a little section of asymmetrical road. In fact, what if we just did 4 lanes instead of the 2? So you've got a left turn lane and a lane for going straight on. And then right here on the way out, you can go left, you can go right, and that's totally fine. And it looks like there's a little bit of a dip in the terrain there. I'm not really too worried about that. It doesn't need to be perfect. The main thing I want with this though is just to give a factory like that its own footprint, give it its own little bit of space. And honestly, I'd be tempted to bring a little road up here as well, just so we have, you know, a couple of different ways in and out, although that might cause some problems at this intersection. So we'll leave it be for now, but I think that just looks better. I think that's just better for traffic as well. It moves things sort of away, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm also thinking this needs plain timber, it needs plastics, glass, and metals. So we could do some warehouses around this as well if we wanted to. If we have a little bit of a look into warehouses, we could go for the warehouse yards, but we also have the smaller warehouses. We have the medium warehouses, which I don't hate. We obviously have the one with a railway connection, which I've yet to play with. But I think what we'll do is get ourselves just a couple of maybe the mediums. I'm really not too sure. Let's try something out here. Let me get myself this road again. We'll go 10 units here. We'll go 10 units here. And then what if I did a medium warehouse here and here? Does that look weird? It sort of does. And I sort of don't like it here. I don't mind it in this spot, but I don't like it being so close to the edge of the map. And I think what I'm also going to do is just flatten a little bit more of this terrain so that we can get maybe a couple of warehouses out here. And I think what I'll do is use the road with a median here, because then we can force the traffic sort of down and around. And that might be a little bit better for just having it flow around the place. We'll do a warehouse here and a warehouse here. And we could tuck one at the back there as well if I wanted to. I think I'll pass on that. And again, it's plain timber, plastics, glass, and metals. So let's say that you are going to be storing planed timber. You are going to be storing, I guess, some plastics. And then I might do a couple of small warehouses. Or, well, what if we just brought this road sort of back and around these guys? What if we just surrounded all of these buildings with roads so this space just feels a little bit more, I don't know, defined? I don't know what the word is I'm necessarily looking for. But we'll do those over here. And then let's have a look at the size. So from here to here is 640. From here to here is 720. So if I was to maybe go and flatten out a little bit more of this terrain, we could potentially do another square here. And then all I can do is say warehouse here and warehouse there. And I actually kind of like those alternating like that as well. So let's turn one of you guys around. So it's going to be this one that gets flipped around and faces that way, or not. It's going to get flipped and face that way. And I think that looks fine. I think that looks pretty cool. So again, it was plain timber, plastics, glass, and metals. So this one is going to be storing glass. This one is going to be storing metals. I don't know if that's needed. I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know if there's any point in doing any of this, but it just looks kind of cool. It does. It gives it its own footprint, and that's kind of what I want for it. And I'm honestly tempted to say that we could do a little connection here just so that we have a couple of ways in and out of that space. So what if I did this? Is that too steep? Yes. Yes, it is. Never mind. That's way too steep. Now, another thing I can do with this that I'm actually kind of excited to do is put some fences around it just to sort of establish this thing and make it look a little bit more official. So I'm going to leave a bit of a gap between the fences and the roads here so that I can hopefully play around with these and get some decent little curves in the corners. And so that I can also do something very, very specific when we get down to this space here, which is quite frankly just that. I just want them to be pointed towards the road. That is genuinely all I want to do. As for the rest of these, it's going to be as simple as a little corner right there. I don't know if having these curved actually makes sense. I really don't know if they would bother to have them sort of curve around like this, but it's just a nice little aesthetic thing that we can totally do. And honestly, I think it just looks the part. I'm also thinking that if I wanted to, I could... Ooh, have I gone a bit too far in this one? I absolutely have. If I wanted to, I could probably go ahead and do a whole line of trees on the insides of all of these fences. And I'm sure you know exactly what kind of tree that would be. I don't know if outlining the perimeter of a factory with trees like that is necessarily a great idea. Although this line here of trees, it does look pretty good. So maybe we might come back and do that, but this is going to be the space for whatever that is, the modular house factory. We have these warehouses next to it. So let's go ahead and get on with another factory, which I want to put into this space over here. And I don't know what factory we're going to go for. It is going to be a new one. It's a pretty square looking space. So maybe the car factory. That's actually kind of perfect. It's huge as well. Good Lord. So I think first things first, we need to move these large water towers out of this space, which, I mean, we could use this island if I really wanted to. Let's take a look. Can I just place? This is going to look terrible. This is actually going to look terrible, but I'm going to just sort of, line this island with water towers just for now. This is like the main source of water for the entire city, I'm pretty sure. So we'll do this for the time being, and then we'll move this guy sort of to here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do we have a surplus of water right now? Oh yeah, we're fine. We're going to be totally fine. Let me just bulldoze all of these guys, and let me get rid of the pipes under there as well. This is not a permanent thing. The reason I'm doing this is simply because I want this coastline, because I'm pretty sure we could go in here and get ourselves a nice section of quay. And I'm pretty sure I can get it to line up with this. Yeah, we can get it to line up right here. We can bring it straight over. I don't know if that's going to be nice and level. It actually is, which is kind of amazing. So what we'll do is just bring it over. We'll try and line it up. I need to turn off some grid snapping, I think, to make this work. Ooh, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. This might not work. I might have to get rid of that pillar, or I can just do that, which I don't love. I don't love that. I think I'm also using the wrong type of key. Yeah, we used a different one. I think we used this one. The simple fenceless sea wall. So we'll go ahead and just swap that out. Honestly, I might swap it out to the one with the fence just because we do... you know what? I don't care. It's, you know what? Health and safety, I don't even know her. So let's... Man, that's an approach. That's a way to approach health and safety in a city. Yeah, I think we're going to have to get rid of this bridge, at least for the time being. So I'm going to just take this thing out of here completely. It was, if I remember right, it was a complete pain to get that thing level, so I might regret that, but we're going to commit to it, and we're going to see what happens. So can I get this to just do this? Yes, I absolutely can. Do I want to do that? I think I do. I think that looks pretty good. So now I have to put this bridge back in here since it's kind of important, and this is the part where I might really regret getting rid of it. Oh boy. I'm immediately having some regrets. Okay. Turn off road guidelines, lower you down. I do not want this. Is that level? It's rising up a little bit, but it's probably good enough. Oh man, this is going to be terrible. Lower you down, and connect to there. That's okay. It could be worse. It definitely could be worse. We have this space here, which is what I wanted. So we're not going to worry too much about it. Let me get my dirt roads. Let me start to lay this space out and figure out where everything's going to be going. And let's just sincerely hope for the best that I can pull this off. I'm also thinking I'm going to put a bit of a gap between the road and the quay so I can put some parking across the quay itself. I might even go so far as to do a little bit of a larger gap so I can do some some paths back there as well. I mean, yes, parking, but also, you know, paths as well. So we'll do this. And let's get a look at the size of this factory. It's a bit of a chungus, isn't it? It is absolutely massive. Good Lord. That is huge. That is friggin' huge. Good Lord. All right. That's a lot of land I'm going to have to flatten out as well. But I think it's going to be worth it. We can make it look a little bit more natural after the fact, but for now, we'll just flatten this all out. And I'm going to flatten right up to here. We do have some buildings there that I might want to try and keep, but honestly, I want parking out here. I want warehouses out here. I've got no idea where the warehouses are going to go, but we'll figure it out. They might have to go back here. These buildings might have to go away. And so this right here is going to be the layout for the car factory. We have another 4 warehouses with all of their ingredients. We have a little path down here. I haven't done a fence around it just yet, and I haven't fixed the terrain, and I've also apparently cut off water supplies to some stuff in here. So let's just bring that straight across and fix that. But what I'm also thinking I want to do here is add in something like this, the bus depot. Not that we need it. I just kind of like the idea that it would be here. I mean, we have one over here already, so we don't necessarily need it. And we're kind of just using those to fill in space. But I do really like the idea of having some bus depots over here, depots, whatever we're going to call them. Like this one could go down here and sort of fill in that space really nicely. There's not a whole lot of need for it, but I just sort of like it. I just like that it's there. I just like that it's another building for the area. I think that's kind of cool. And I want to just take a look through and see if there's anything else we could go for. We could do like a taxi depot out here as well. That might be a little bit too silly because it looks more like just an office. But we could do like a sightseeing bus depot as well, which honestly might look better down here than this one. So let's move this guy to, honestly, it could even go there by the entrance. That might be a bit much as well though. So let's not do that. We'll just put it, I don't know, we'll put it here, I guess is what we'll do with it. And I'm almost wondering, would it be an idea to bring this road back just a little bit and do the sightseeing depot in there? Although I might have to flatten the terrain slightly, which I really don't want to do because we're right at the edge of the map. But if I just flatten that terrain and just bring this road out to here, would a sightseeing depot work back there? It kind of does. And I don't mind that. It just, again, it just sort of fills in the space. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. We do have some terrain stuff going on there. Let me just take out these roads very, very briefly. And let me just see if I can make sure this is all nice and flat. Again, edge of the map, it's a bit of a problem, but it's not the end of the world. We can make it work. We'll go ahead and bring this road back out to here, bring it all the way down to here and all the way through there. And I think that's a little bit better. And at this point, honestly, let's just go and hit a lot of this space with a smoothing brush. Let's bring the terrain back to these buildings. I did have to get rid of some of them, unfortunately, but we can bring it back up to these levels and we can just make this feel like it's, you know, maybe carving out a little bit less of the terrain than it currently is. And then another fence around this thing nicely caps it off. It nicely surrounds it, establishes it into the terrain. And I just think it looks the part. I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot of cars here as well, which is kind of wild. I mean, these are likely, I don't know if it's citizens or tourists. I mean, this is an exchange student. So this one's a business tourist, a nature tourist. I'm not sure why a nature tourist is necessarily parking here. That's also, I don't know if I've ever noticed that it's got a logo there. I mean, it's basically a Ford logo, isn't it? But it's cool that the parking lots are being used. That's definitely a good thing. These ones are being used a lot more than these ones up here. So that's kind of fantastic. We do have a little bit of a tailback in traffic here as well. So I almost wonder, I mean, if I put traffic lights here, I'm pretty sure that's not going to do anything, because I'm pretty sure the way traffic lights work in City Skylines is it'll let traffic out of here and then just let both of these sides go all at once. So we might be causing some traffic problems. It might have just been a temporary thing. It's not really the end of the world. What I will say, though, is I'm slightly tempted to make the trees around here a little bit more dense so that these things kind of stand out a little bit more. And really, that's just going to be a case of going in here with a bunch of these guys and just sort of dotting them along the parts where they should be. So on the outsides of the fences. And this will take a minute to do. It's a lot of trees that I need to place by hand, but thankfully I don't need to put them in any kind of pattern. It's just sort of randomly plopping trees around here to make it look like there's a bit more of a dense forest than there really is. Obviously the edge of the map is going to make that slightly tricky, but that's whatever. It'll also change this up a little bit and put some different trees in here. We'll just do this first pass with a bunch of these guys. I think we'll do something nice down here rather than just filling that in with random trees as well. And I think what we can do is just sort of fill in all the way around these guys. Again, just to sort of make them feel like they're carving out chunks of the terrain. They're carving out the trees. They're getting rid of a lot of stuff. It's very industrial, you know, it's very man-made. I mean, it's a factory. Of course it's man-made, but you know what I mean? There's a certain word that I happen to really enjoy. It begins with a J and ends in juxtaposition. Yes, juxtaposition is what we're going for. You've got the contrast between nature and the factories. It's going to look cool. Oh, this added industry is making traffic a lot worse. But I will say, it's kind of cool seeing this right here. It's kind of cool seeing the delivery trucks from the car factory with the cars on the back there. That's something I'd never really noticed before, but I really kind of appreciate that. And this is from the modular house factory. That's so cool. And it's going to this large cargo service point. Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. I didn't know it was going to be delivering locally. I mean, again, it's a lot of traffic, man. It's so much traffic, but they'll figure it out eventually. I'll probably have to do some stuff to make it flow a little bit better. But anyway, I want to get another couple of factories in here because I've realized we have the clothing factory here, but we can also build this, a sneaker factory. And I think they'll go pretty well together in a little spot over here. And what we can do is have this be at a bit of an angle to everything else. So it's just going to offset things. It's going to look a little bit more interesting. And it does mean, once again, I'm going to have to play around with terrain ever so slightly. So I think what I'll do is flatten things to, I'm going to say this height. So we're going to bring the terrain sort of over like this. It's going to give us a little bit of a lip by, ooh, actually it's lower. Interesting. I didn't realize it was lower than the road. That's news to me. Do I want it to be lower? Do I want it to be higher? I sort of want it to be higher than the road, but I don't know if I'm necessarily going to have that option. Let's get a bit of a bigger brush. Let's start up here and let's just flatten all of this out and see what it looks like. We might actually have an area that's really easy to work with here, which would be nice, but I was hoping for another little lip sort of like what we have here so that it would look interesting. But I guess I guess this is sort of what we're working with, and this is okay. I was going to use this space potentially for some suburbs, but I've ever so slightly given up on that idea because I've done some test builds of suburbs here and there. And let me tell you, if there's one thing I can't build, it's a suburb, man. I don't know what it is. In all my years of playing this game, I just can't do it. So I've kind of given up on the idea. With that said, and I don't know if I've said this in an episode of the series so far, but I've been looking at the map and I've been realizing that this tile, we're probably not going to buy it. This one, maybe we surround this lake with some industries and stuff like that. I don't know. This one maybe as well. Basically any tile. This one especially would be good. Regardless, I think what I'm going to do is try to sort of max things out as best I can, in the sense that I'm going to try and get all of my industries. I do want to get a fishing industry at some point as well. I want to just start playing with the hotels and just all of the DLCs. Once we've kind of got to a point where I feel like I've achieved all I can achieve in a vanilla game, I think at that point I'm going to concede and we're going to get 81 tiles. So eventually we could build suburbs out here. That's my thinking. That might honestly be a post Cities Skylines 2 thing as well, because I'm realizing that we are cutting it a little bit close. And by the way, my first Cities Skylines 2 video, September 8th, 2023, it's on its way. It is on its way. I can't tell you what's in it. I can't tell you anything about the game right now, but you'll find out exactly what's in that video when it comes out on September 8th, 2023. So if you are watching this and you're not subscribed, then you know, I don't often plug. I don't often do that, but I'm just saying it's going to be a thing. It's going to be cool. That's well, you know, I assume I'm not allowed to tell you anything about it. Not right now. Anyway, let's before I get sued, let's build ourselves another factory layout right here. Let me get my dirt roads as well, since I like to use those to plan things out. So we'll do 30 units that way. We'll do 10 units that way. And let me take a look at these factories. So this is, what is this one? This is the sneaker factory. It's not that big, which is pretty good. That's kind of what we're looking for. So it looks like this, which is pretty cool, actually. I think it's a pretty good looking factory. I'm going to move it a little bit though. And I'm going to say that we are going to do more parking lots next to it, because I think some parking lots along here would look pretty cool. I'm honestly tempted to move a little bit further, and we'll do the path again, just because we can. So we'll put it right there, and we'll get ourselves a couple of parking lots just alongside this guy. So just something like that, honestly, seems totally fine. We'll figure out the paths in a little bit, but then this guy is placed also at the end of a road. So that's pretty good. I'm actually thinking this one could potentially go over here. So we have this kind of weird little space between them, which we can play with. I actually like that a lot. These buildings are also, well, they're not similar, but they're pretty cool looking. I do kind of like that. I think that's pretty good. So what we'll do, I guess, is bring this guy out. We'll bring it sort of over to the side of this building. We'll kind of come around behind it and come down. Oh, we can't go down like that. We'll go down like this. And I think that can just sort of be the layout for the clothing spaces. So we have this whole thing going on here. We have this going on here. I might extend this side just a little bit so that I can do a bit more parking in there, since that's something that I'm trying to keep consistent throughout all of these factories. So something like that. And then for the middle part, we can do a bunch of these smaller ones, which I think is totally fine. If anything, do I want to bring it out a bit further? I think I will. We'll bring it out one more so that we can get ourselves some paths on that side as well. So we want to go right about here, bring you down to there, chop that out. Obviously, warehouses will probably be a thing here as well, but that's going to be coming after, obviously, all of the parking lots and all of the paths and all of the stuff that's actually important. Warehouses are not important. Obviously, the parking lots are. That's what we're here for. And I'm also realizing, oh, if I took this over one more, I could get some parking lots in this space. But I think what we'll do is maybe just turn that into like a nice little space for employees to be. I don't know. It doesn't really matter what it's going to be. Let's just get this swapped out for the road with the wider sidewalks right about here. And this will give us a little bit of a look at what this space is going to look like. And I don't don't mind that. I don't. I think that's not so bad. We'll get ourselves some paths as we do. So grid snapping on, we'll bring this down to here and here. We could do a path that sort of cuts through here. And we'll obviously have this one that comes down here as well. And that's going to be a way for people to sort of walk around and do their thing. And honestly, I don't mind that. I really don't. We are going to have to change out these highway roads here because right now we need 2 lanes going that way and 2 lanes going that way. So we'll do something like that. And we'll do something like that. So we have the turn lanes, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't think there's going to be that much traffic going in here, so we'll just leave it as a bit of a smaller road. And what we'll also do is bring this down, bring the pipes underneath all of these roads. And now figuring out what exactly we need in terms of goods is going to be interesting. So this one needs crops, paper, petroleum, and plastic. This one needs animal products, crops, and plastics. So crops and plastics are the 2 consistent ones. So what I think we could do with that is potentially play around with different warehouse sizes. Now, I will say I have already sort of flattened out the terrain here, which might have been a bit of a mistake, but it's all right. We'll survive, I'm sure. I think what I'll do is play around a little bit with some one-way roads. That might be the way to go on this. So a little one-way road right here, and then put a warehouse on that. And that's sort of going to force the traffic sort of into the warehouse and then out this way, which is whatever. That's totally fine. A little bit of a weird square, but I'm kind of okay with it. And that is going to be for, I'm going to say, so it just needs, wait, what was the consistent ones? So crops and plastics, crops and plastics. Let's do plastics in this one. And then crops would be what exactly? Farming products? I guess. So that's maybe what we'll play with in terms of that. I think for this warehouse as well, I'm not going to do a road around it this time. I think we'll just do a path. I think we'll do things a little bit differently for this particular layout. We'll just do a little bit of a path there and see how that goes. And then what else did you need? So crops and paper and petroleum. So paper and petroleum are going to be for this guy. We could do a little warehouse right here, which I'm kind of okay with. I don't mind that. Or we could do a little something back here as well. I don't mind that too much. We can't get it centered, which is a little bit frustrating. Can I do 2 of them? Again, not necessarily centered, which is again a little bit frustrating. So I'll tell you what, let's do one of these guys with the median. So let's bring you up to, I'm going to say about there. And is that going uphill? That absolutely is going uphill. Okay. I just fixed this terrain, which is really annoying because I have to flatten it all out again to make this work. But we're going to just push this back a little bit here. And we'll get ourselves this guy coming out to about there. And we'll move this along. We'll put, I guess, a warehouse here. Although I don't, do I like that? I don't know if I do. Let's put it on this side and let me just check and see. Can I get a medium warehouse in that space? Almost. If I got rid of that path, I could. I think I will. I think I will just because this is going to be for the farm products, right? Since that's going to be an overlap that we have. So this is going to be for, I guess, the petroleum. And then the other one was paper. So what we can actually do is extend this road up to about there. We can flatten this terrain just a little bit more, just a teeny tiny little bit more. We'll bring this guy up to about there. And we'll just do another one, another smaller one right about here, which if it would place, that'd be great. There we go. And it was paper. So you are going to have paper. And so that's everything for this factory. You needed animal products, and I think that was the only thing that we don't have. So what we'll do for the animal products, I think, is just give it its own little space, just for a bit of an interesting sort of look on this. And so the animal products warehouse can go there. We'll just take this road out. We'll rebuild it to be about the right length, which is this. And that seems fine. That's a decent enough layout. If anything, I could probably repeat that layout over here and actually move these warehouses around a little bit. And that might not be a terrible idea, just doing something kind of like this so that we have everything kind of contained a little bit more. I mean, this isn't necessarily contained, but it's all right. If anything, I could take that out, and I guess we are just going to loop some roads around here. So we'll bring this road over here. We'll bring it down like this. We don't want to go in that far. We want it to come down to here, and there. And that seems okay, I guess. It's a bit weird. It's definitely a little bit weird, but I'm sort of okay with it. We'll do this warehouse here. We'll do this warehouse here, and then maybe take that bit of road out, take that bit of road out. And do I like that? I don't know that I do. It's made this whole thing a little bit more square than I was hoping it would be, but I think I'll allow it. I think we can allow it. It's fine. All right, so several slight changes of plan later, and this is the layout that we're going for. I don't know if it makes all that much sense. I don't know if it's any good, but I like the shape because it's just different. It's not symmetrical. It's just a bit different, and it does what I want it to do. It's also 2 factory, which is, you know, which is pretty cool. Now we have this space down here, which is somewhere that I still want to have a factory. I was just thinking we could do the food factory down here, since it will fit really nicely right about there. Now this thing is going to use animal products. I don't know. Let's just place it and take a look and see what it uses exactly. It is a pretty cool looking building, so eventually I'm going to give it its own space as well. Animal products, flour, paper, plastics, and it makes food. So yeah, this thing, honestly, I really like how it looks. I think it's a really cool looking space. If it didn't pollute, which I think it does pollute, right? Noise pollution and a little bit of pollution. I might try and get away with putting this a little bit closer to the city at some point. But for now, I'm just going to keep it there because honestly, I just want to. I'm also really concerned about just the amount of traffic trying to get through here. It is kind of wild, and I'm realizing that part of it is probably because traffic has to slow down as it hits these roads when it, you know, goes so quickly on the highway, but it's mostly just because there's a lot. I'm not going to sit here and try and be like, oh, well, actually, the reason my city's traffic is terrible is not my fault. It's not because my design of the city is terrible. It's actually because, I don't know what this voice is. I'm going to be honest with you. I've got no idea. But, yeah, the reason my city's traffic's terrible is actually because of, it's actually limitations of the game simulation. It's also because you can't control the speed that certain roads are like you can with. It's nothing like that. It's just because my city layout is terrible. It's just that simple, really. I'm just not very good at city skylines sometimes, and that's a little fact that I've had to you know come to terms with over many thousands of hours playing this game. So it's just the reality of me and city skylines. We'll fix it eventually. It's by no means the end of the world. It's not a tragedy. I mean, it will be if I don't fix it, but right now it's fine. So we'll not stress too much about it. Should I do little curves in these corners here? I don't think I will. I think these ones, yes. I think the other ones, no. This one might be tricky. Oh my God, I can get oh, that's perfect. That is perfect. Oh, I'm so pleased with that. And you know what this needs now? It needs a whole bunch of trees around it so that, again, it kind of has this vibe where there's just a forest surrounding this giant space. And I'm also going to have to put something in here. I don't really know what that something's going to be. And I'm very tempted to say it could be a park, as weird as that might be. But having somewhere for people out here to go to sort of chill makes sense to me. So we might do that. And there we go. We have another forest surrounding another factory, which I absolutely adore. And I've also just realized that my traffic problems might be worse than I've thought about. They might be just worse in general than that I'm giving them credit for, because we don't have any oil production anymore. We might be importing it. We probably are importing a lot of things right now and making oil that way. But a lot of the traffic here originally was coming from like the oil place. It was coming from down here as well. These guys, for example, are starting to run out of ore, which is also terrifying. So somehow we've managed to have worse traffic with, oh man, that's really bad. That's really bad. Oh boy, we're gonna have to deal with that at some point. I'm not doing it today. What I will do is turn this into like a little, just some kind of little park space. I think that'll be kind of nice. So let's take a look and see what we can do. Does this fit in the middle? It doesn't. This absolutely will do the job though. So we'll do, I don't know, where do we want to do an entrance? We'll do an entrance there, and we can go ahead and just turn this into, this is the weirdest space that I think I've ever built a park in City Skylines, but I'm absolutely going to go for it since these guys can just use this to chill, and it might just attract a few people out here, which I don't know if I want to attract people out here. I don't know if that's something we really want to aspire to do, but it's something that we're going to do anyway. So we'll do a little thing there. We'll do a little thing. Maybe, you know what? We'll just do the two of them. We'll do the two of them. And what we'll do is get ourselves just a little bit of fence. And I could probably just use this category to do it. So grab you and connect to that. Oh, it's too short, really? Okay. Well, we'll move you down by 1. And let's see, is this, I mean, I don't know if I like the look of that. What if I turn road length and grid off for a second and do that? Still too short, really? That's kind of a pain. Okay. Well, I might have to come up with something here because I can't do that either. That's annoying. I know it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna be able to hide it with like I don't know, some trees or something like that, but I was really hoping I could get something quite nice there. We'll just do this. We'll bring this guy over this way and just run straight up to there. And honestly, that'll be fine. In terms of a path, we'll just go for something a little bit more freeform. So kind of around like this, and I guess I'll turn on the curves tool just to get this to be absolutely perfect. So something like that. I don't know that I like this curve, actually. I don't know about that one. What if we made it slightly more shallow? And that's like no different. It'll do. It's fine. No one's going to use this park anyway. I don't know why I'm getting so annoyed about it. I will do a little cafe just because I think a little cafe here would be lovely just so people can, you know, go on their lunch break or whatever. We'll do some restrooms at this end of things. And I don't know if I want to do gazebos. I really don't know if anyone would want to use a gazebo out here, but we'll do one sort of in the middle just to sort of attract people that way. And honestly, I'm probably just going to surround this with generic pine trees because that's kind of my thing. So let's very quickly go ahead and just surround this thing with a whole bunch of generic pine trees. This one's very cheekily going to be placed outside of the fence so that I can kind of hide the fact that the fence is, you know, doing what it's doing. I also don't know if I want them this close together, so I might not be able to do that. Oh, this might be slightly trickier than I thought. And you know what? Actually, this looks kind of nice. I don't know if I personally want to go there. I mean, it is in the middle of an industrial hub for the entire city, but it's nice. I mean, people are using it. People are going through, which is what we're looking for. They look like tourists. I'm going to be honest. Are you a tourist? You absolutely, you're a sightseeing tourist. Yep. Okay. Well, I mean, fair enough. That's definitely a choice. It is definitely a choice to go and see the sights out here at Fairview Meadows. Oh man. I don't know if I'd do that, but to each their own. Not enough raw materials, not enough ore. Ooh. Are we importing stuff? So let me see. Upkeep is this, produced resources, yada, 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 policies, imports. So yeah, we are largely importing stuff, which is totally fine. It would probably be an idea to get some trains to do that at some point, if that's an option, which I know people have been saying for the longest time that I need to start doing stuff with trains. That's another reason I want to lean into 81 tiles at some point, because this is our train connection right now. And as you can see, it's a little bit obstructed by an airport. Although, I'll be honest with you, I'm very tempted to sort of cheese this a little bit, because the reason I don't like this train connection, I'm going to be honest with you. And the reason I don't like it is because, I mean, the bridge is cool, but I don't like that it's all the way over here. And I don't like that I'd have to like bridge over here with it or go down onto the beaches. So what I might do is take it underground and bring it back up to surface level somewhere like, I mean, this would be essentially sort of like creating a second regional connection. It's not exactly what I'd be doing, but bring it back up to surface level like here, and then use that to connect to the city. We can take a train line across the water here, punch a hole through this industry, you know, take it maybe down this way. It doesn't really matter. It would just make more sense, I think, than going over this giant canyon, because I think that would look silly. I really do. I hate to say it, because I do want to use trains. I've been wanting to do it for a while. I think that's probably what we're going to have to do. Again, not necessarily today, but let me know what you think of that. Is that something we should do? Kind of bring it out here, get rid of the fact it's in an awkward spot and just treat this as our regional connection. Of course, until we get 81 tiles. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that. Now, something I had spotted out here and is still going on is this not enough workers problem. And that's because we need uneducated workers for a lot of these industries. So something I decided to do was essentially go ahead and place a firehouse, a police station, and a medical clinic. And the reason I put these out here is because essentially, if we can go ahead and provide enough coverage to these spaces, we can level up our industry. And leveling up our industry is going to mean that it now needs educated workers. It needs fewer uneducated workers. And so doing this, essentially, I mean, yes, it changes the face of this industrial space. That was kind of cool. It makes the buildings a bit more gray. But this is also something I was wondering about, whether or not these buildings do, in fact, change their style a little bit as they begin to level up, which obviously they do. So having this in here is hopefully going to balance things a little bit. We're going to have educated workers kind of doing their thing now. And hopefully they'll level up again at some point. Generally, you just need to cover them with more services to get them to do that. So getting police, fire, and medical into this space seems to have been for the best. It's definitely given us a little bit of a level up in there, which is lovely. And I don't know if that's going to do anything for traffic. If anything, traffic's just getting worse. But in fairness, I've not done anything with traffic myself, so I can't really complain. You know, the more I look at this entire space and the more I think about the fact that we don't have any ore left underneath here and we don't have any oil left underneath here, the more I'm tempted to just tear a lot of this apart and essentially rebuild it. And I think, honestly, I might just go ahead and do that. So I hate to say it, but I think we're going to get rid of the mining industry. Well, I say that. We are going to be keeping things like the kiln plants, and we're going to be keeping things like the plastic refineries and the petroleum refineries. We do still need those. So we're still going to need spaces for, you know, turning ore into metal. We just don't need all of the extraction buildings anymore. So I think essentially I'm going to go in here and I'm going to tear out a lot of stuff. I think that's kind of where we're at. So let's clear this. Let's get a bit more land, and then we can get more factories in here, and we can kind of be done with industry for the most part, because we'll have production still going. We'll have all of the factories, and we'll just be importing stuff. This might also help with maybe will help with traffic. So this is a little bit more of the layout that I'm thinking of. We've got a bit more space for factories. The industry space is a little bit larger as well. And this is going to be for the mining industry, which is probably going to get renamed because it's mostly going to be factories. Although in saying that, I might go ahead and bring some roads sort of up in here and kind of fill in this space for some factories as well, or some production. So if I was to want to do that, how would I go about doing that without just completely ruining this cliff here? I guess we could go 10 units here, maybe something like 12 units here, and just do this. And I suppose that'll be okay. And then we can go in and just paint a bit of a district onto that road as well. In fact, we'll just bring it over like this and sort of fill in that space as best we can. Keep it just relatively neat. Maybe up to about there, and sort of bring it along the cliff a little bit like that. And that's just a little bit of an extension of that space. So that'll be totally fine. We can go ahead and change that road out to probably one with a median, just because that's kind of what I like to do with these things. So we'll do a bit of a road with a median there. And now what I want to do is figure out the internals of all of this. It's going to be a bunch of grids, because the thing that I want to do is try to get a good bit of zoning in here. But I also want to do this in such a way that it's not just going to be, it's not just all connected together. It's going to be a couple of different pockets of industry. So we'll do something like, let's see, I don't want to connect out there. We'll do something like this for here. We can come down a little bit and do something like this. And that'll be one little corner of industry. We could even, if we wanted to, extend it a little bit further over and sort of bring it down to here. And I might do that. I might leave this space open just for a warehouse or something like that. Down here, we're going to do kind of a similar thing. We're going to go maybe 20 units here, maybe leave a bit of a gap here and just do however many units I can get away with. So something kind of like this. And maybe, can I get something central here? Not really, but I guess it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. We'll do something like this, leaving some space around there for some different things. This, we could connect these together if I wanted to, which I'm not necessarily against doing. Again, we are going to have some space in here that's relatively open, but if I have that road there, I mean, I could bring a road down here. I could bring a road sort of up here and connect those together. That honestly might not be a terrible idea. I know I said I wanted this to be, you know, a bunch of different pockets, but this isn't all bad. I don't mind that. The one thing I want to try and avoid is a bunch of curved roads because it just doesn't work. It's not something I'm a huge fan of. So we're going to try and stay away from that. And I think what we'll do is bring something out to here. This one's probably going to be a little bit more typical in terms of being just a pocket of industry. We'll bring this out to here, bring this over this way, and maybe that's kind of all that one's going to be. I could, if I wanted to, connect it here, but I sort of don't want to do that. I could, if I wanted to, bring this through here, which I don't know. I'm skeptical in connecting these in general, because now that I think about it, if I connect too many things, the whole point is traffic using these roads here will only be going to something in here, whereas we could have traffic coming off of here, going through here, connecting across there. Basically, the pockets mean that traffic will filter. I don't know if they'll filter better, but they'll filter is what they'll do. So that's kind of my goal. I think we will try and keep things a little bit more disconnected. And I think what we'll do is go maybe 11 here. We'll go 11 here. And we'll sort of have those gaps in there for paths or whatever else I want to do. This could come down here if I took this away, which I'm not necessarily against doing. That could also potentially just be a connection to... Do I want to do that? I don't know that I do. I actually don't know that I do. I think this will be fine. This will just sort of be our pocket of industry. I think I will do this just to get a little bit more in there. And I think this guy can be... just a little something like that. Just a little square going on. Maybe even connecting there. Maybe that's kind of how we do it. We fill the space up that way. It means that this road's going to have to be split a little bit, but we can totally get away with that. In fact, let's just very quickly get ourselves the asymmetrical road here and do a split right there. So we have a turn lane. We already have a split in the middle there, which is fine. And the rest of these, honestly, we'll figure out in due time. There's not really a rush. This one might be tricky though. Ooh. Yeah, that might be tricky. That might just have to have 4 lanes. I'm going to be honest. This one's going to have to just be that, which again is probably fine. This one's probably going to be 4 lanes as well. So we can kind of, maybe I just do 4 lanes the entire way up there. I don't know about that actually. That might not be a good idea at all. So another important part of what I want to do here is encourage these buildings to level up. So we are going to be going in and we are going to be looking to build some things like a, fire station as opposed to a firehouse, which means we are going to be using some of this land for services. Yes, we already have services, but we don't have good service coverage for the industry itself. So something like a fire station right here in the middle actually gives us really good coverage across the board. We actually have a really nice little spot for it right about here. So that's where it's going to go. And that should, like I said, provide coverage to that entire space, which it does. We're going to want to do similar with policing as well. We have the police headquarters here. We have the high capacity police headquarters, which honestly might have been a better shout. The high capacity fire station. It's a cool looking building. I think we will go for the high capacity police headquarters though, just in this space, which again gives us really good coverage. And then for medical, I mean, I'm not going to throw a hospital out here. That's for sure. We're not going to be doing anything like that. I think it is just going to be a little clinic that we can go ahead. Maybe a couple of little clinics is what we'll go for. So we actually have no medical coverage out here whatsoever. So let's see. Let's do a little medical clinic right there. And that'll be coverage for a chunk of this space. We can do a little medical clinic maybe on this corner. And that'll cover how much exactly? A decent little bit. And then another one down here. I don't necessarily like that we need medical clinics so close together, but I want to make sure that this industry is nicely covered by services. And so that'll be pretty good for us. We also want to bring buses back through here. So the buses are going to be, let's see, they're coming in this way. So they're going in and out in the same direction. That's fine. I guess that's just what they do. Yeah, they go through all of that industry. Honestly, the buses out here probably aren't all that efficient, but we'll go for it anyway. What we'll do is just say that we're going to have a bus that goes in like this. Do I want it to go into the middle of the space? I think I do. I think I want to then bring it out and have it stop in front of the main building for the mining industry. We can bring it over and have it stop maybe down here, or even up here would be a decent spot for it. That actually gives it a really nice dedicated stop. For this space, I think we'll just do a stop here. It is going to be, you know, stopping the flow of traffic, which isn't great, but that's okay. We have a stop over there. We'll do one here as well. And that'll just do for now. We'll probably change that up a little bit, but it'll do for the time being. Now, in terms of zoning for this space, this entire space is already a district. So what I'm going to do is just start filling it in with zoning. Really, that's kind of the goal. We do have some weirdness going on here, which I don't really appreciate though. So let me just fix that by disabling zoning on this road, and that'll fix things up a little bit. I might even disable zoning here, although that is going to get rid of, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that actually. It might not be a bad idea though. It really might not be a bad idea, so that we don't have traffic turning off of this road. Yes, it means that we're kind of losing some space here, but I think that's going to be for the best. So we'll fill this up. We'll fill all of this up as well. And we'll just go with, I guess, this as our, you know what? Fill the entire thing. To hell with it. Fill the, ooh, some weirdness going on there as well. That's fine. We'll fix that in just a second. We'll just fill the entire thing and we'll just see what happens is what we'll do. I'm also realizing if I get rid of zoning here, that's going to screw with things. So, so I want to put it back here. I think I will. I think we'll say screw it, and we'll just see what happens. We'll get some zoning in these spaces as well. Just fill it up really, really nicely. This corner is unfortunately not going to work as well though. So let's just take that a little bit out. So disable zoning here and fill you in. And you know what? I'm going to take this little corner out as well. And we'll just do a little section of path right there. Do we have any other weird corners going on? We have one down here, but that's honestly okay. It looks like the rest of this is pretty well put together, so I'm sort of okay with it. I might also just do this and this, and maybe just push this straight through there and straight through there as well, just because we can. It almost makes no sense to have this sort of cutting across now, though, so we'll just fill it in like this. We'll make it a little bit less interesting, but it just makes a bit more sense. So that's kind of what we'll go for. We'll go ahead and run the simulation. This will probably take a while to build, but they do have good coverage for their services now. So they'll hopefully level up pretty quickly, and hopefully we're not going to run into the issues with, you know, hey, there's not enough educated workers, or there's not enough uneducated work, either or. That will hopefully do some good for us. And now we can turn our attention to the mining industry. So if we have a look at this thing, we don't need any of the extraction buildings, really. We kind of just need things like the ore grinding mill, or the glass manufacturing plant, or the rotary kiln plant, or the fiberglass plant. It's basically just the production things that we need to get our hands on. So this thing is huge. Good Lord. That is considerably larger than I thought it was. These guys fit quite nicely in here, though, I will say. So let me do, what is it? That's the fiberglass thing. Let me do a fiberglass thing there and a fiberglass thing there. And what I can do with this actually is get a couple of parking lots around it, which I know we don't need. I know the parking lots are something that I'm just kind of overusing a little bit, but honestly, I think it'll look kind of cool. I do. I think it'll look kind of cool to have some parking lots here. We can do a couple of them in here as well. So like this to fill up that space. And I do kind of like that. I'm also going to just sort of shuffle these around a little bit and have a small one in the middle there. And we could do this as well. Just completely surround the thing with parking lots. It doesn't look amazing, but it's going to do the job, and it's going to let us just start importing stuff to make glass, which is one of the many things that we're going to need. And if this doesn't end up being enough, then we'll import more stuff, or we'll build more of them and then import more stuff. But for the time being, what I want to do is I want to look at these guys, these rotary kiln plants, which are just absolutely enormous. Good Lord. How do I want to go about doing this? Do I want to have a little road sort of inset here? So we do maybe, I don't know. Let's turn on road length for a second, and let's turn on zoning as well. We'll go 20 that way. We'll go up to here and across. And I guess we'll sort of cut down like this. Is that a weird space to put this thing? It seems like it kind of is, but it also seems like it makes sense to have it set back a little bit. So I think that's what we'll do. And we'll just bring a little road sort of down beside it like that as well. I can play with parking lots around this as well if I really wanted to. I might do that just because I do really like the parking lots. They just fill the space really nicely, you know? That's kind of what I'm going for with the parking lots, is just filling in different spaces to make it look like there's a bit more going on than there really is. So a couple of little parking lots here, honestly, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Can I do 1, 2, 3? Ooh, this thing's not going to play all that well with them, which is a bit of a shame. But I think what we'll do is, oh, how am I going to do this? Maybe we just do a bunch of single parking lots instead. So what about this and another one there? And then this guy and this guy. I don't know about that. I don't know about that layout. It might be a little bit much. We'll do this just so it's, you know, symmetrical with the parking lots. And I guess I can just do this as well. And then maybe throw a little taxi stand or something in that corner just to fill up that weird little gap. And we'll call it quits with the rotary kiln plant. It's taking up way more space than it needs to, isn't it? Like I'm taking up so much more space when I realistically could have probably, oh, hold on a second. Can I get a fiberglass thing here? I totally can. Yeah, I'm using way too much space for these parking lots. I need to not do that. We're gonna slightly redo this. This is an actual production space. Like I need metal, I need glass, I need to not be getting silly with this. So we're gonna keep a road going around this. We're just going to do it a little bit on a, you know, bit of a smaller scale. I'm also kind of wondering, can I bring this down here? I guess I don't need to bring this down here. I guess I could leave that gap there. It's not the worst idea. Or alternatively, I can take this little section out. I can just punch this road straight down here and then just punch this straight across and that'll be fine. Yes, there's a little bit of an intersection there, but honestly, it should be okay. You know what? I think this is actually a pretty good layout. We got 2 of the rotary kiln plants. We got another fiberglass plant in here. And I also got a little bit of space for some parking lots, which is perfectly fine by me. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to put some parking lots there. I've got some space for a path back here as well, which, you know, fills in that space pretty nicely. We've got these weird spaces kind of around this thing that I can do something or other with. But the main thing is going to be just importing the stuff that we need for these plants. So I'm almost wondering if that means that we're going to need some warehouses, which annoyingly, if I didn't have this road, I could get a warehouse here perfectly, like a nice big medium warehouse. We have this space here. We have this space here, which again, isn't really going to work. So we'll do one of these guys. I'm going to put it down on that road just to fill in the space. And let me see. So stored resource. Is it so zoned industry ore products? I feel like the ore products are products that are going out to stores. I honestly have no idea. I really don't. I've still not read into what the zoned industry products actually are. I probably should, but I've not done it now and the sequel's on the way. So I probably not going to, let's be honest. All right, so while this industry goes ahead and complains about there not being enough workers, I'm going to go ahead and ignore it. And instead, I'm going to build this thing, the soft paper factory. It is large. It is large, but it'll fit really nicely in this space right here. So I've already moved this road on the left to be, well, exactly where it is right now. I'm just debating whether or not I should even have that road because I just don't know that we need it. There's not that much traffic using it. And if I got rid of it, it just frees up some space along the quay, which I think might be pretty good. So I think this factory for sure is going right there. This road, I think we can just get rid of. I just don't think we need it. And I think what I can maybe get away with doing is moving this road along a little bit as well. So this is going to change. Ooh, actually, do I want to do that? This thing is chopping away at my terrain. I don't love that. I don't love that. I might need to bring the terrain up a little bit around these roads to make this thing look a little bit less terrible. I think for now, we'll maybe leave it be just so I don't, you know, get too fixated in making this perfect because it's never going to be. And it also needs, oh, it needs a lot. It needs crops, paper, petroleum, and plastics as well. All right. So, I mean, what we can do at the very least is we can get a nice warehouse in here to fill up that space, which I'm totally here for. I could do, don't know what my voice is doing today. I could do some smaller little yards in here, which might not be a terrible idea. We could do a couple of those. We could do a couple over here as well. In fact, I could do everything I need for this warehouse in those 4 yards. I don't know if I like that though. I don't like the look of those. So I'm going to get rid of them because I don't like the look of them, because that's a good reason to do anything in City Skylines. So crops, paper, petroleum, and plastics. Let's say that you are going to be, I mean, crops isn't an option, is it? No. So I don't know if that's farming products or not. I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's just start with paper for this guy. And then can I get one of these in here? No, I'm not going to be able to do that at all. That's a little bit unfortunate, but that's fine. We can do these smaller ones. We can actually do a few of these guys. So I might do 2 of them. And does this go in the middle? It does. That's really annoying. But it does fill up the space quite nicely. So that's what we're going to do. This one, I'm just going to say is going to be, I don't know. Crops isn't an option, is it? Unless I'm blind. We could do flour. I guess that's an option. Let's just do farming products. So crops, paper, petroleum, plastics. This one's already on paper. So petroleum and plastic is the other stuff that we need. So petroleum there, and we'll do plastics there. So that'll be everything this factory needs. I don't like that it doesn't have its own footprint. I'm going to be honest. That is the one thing I think it's missing, is sort of its own footprint like these guys have, but space is a little bit limited, you know? So like this one, I can give this one its own footprint quite easily, but I don't think all of them are going to get that luxury. Unfortunately, I think that's just sort of the way things are going to be. So what I'm going to do is bring this guy over here, and we'll bring this road down a little bit. I'm going to shuffle this factory into that spot. And I do kind of like that. I think it's kind of interesting, like looking out these windows at the water and the forestry and all that stuff. I kind of like where this is, even if the back of it's now facing out here, because what we can do, and you know, I'm going to do this. You already had a hunch, I'm sure. I'm going to do some parking. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do some parking and give this factory its own little footprint, which is, it's more than the big thing to its left is getting. So it's probably fair enough. Oh, it's not, it's not a good size for this. That's a shame. That would have been really good if it was. That's okay. What we can do is I can shuffle this to here. I can move you along by 2, and I can do some little sections just here and here. And then we'll just throw a taxi stand right down here at the end, and that'll be all right. So it fills in the space really well. It gives it its own little space, which is totally fine. Let me just take out this section of pipe because we don't need it anymore. And let me just extend a little bit of pipe out for this factory as well. And you know what? We're going to do exactly the same thing for the lemonade factory. We're going to try and get it its own spot. I'm going to shuffle these guys around, and then we're going to be done for today. This episode is going on so much longer than I planned for, but I think this is good. This space just looks a little bit more organized. It looks a little bit better. It looks like I kind of planned it rather than just threw it together. So yeah, let's finish this and take a look at it. And so just like that, and with a couple of abandoned buildings, I've managed to rebuild this entire industrial space, and I think it looks pretty good. Obviously, a lot of what I'm doing involves parking lots and some trees and some fences, but it's done the job. We have pretty much every single industrial building that we can possibly have, in terms of factories, of course, with the exception of a lemonade factory, because I just don't have the room for it right now. So that's something I'll probably build off camera, since it doesn't really need to be its own episode. But I did go ahead and rebuild the entirety of the oil industry, because we have none under the ground here anymore. So it is now just importing stuff, making stuff, and going to town. It also has the steel mill. And so this is the part of the video where I was going to wrap things up and say that that's going to do us for today. But there is a problem. Everyone's dead. everyone died. We're down to 19,500 people. We are recovering, but everyone's dead because I'm pretty sure the pollution from all of these factories was enough to reach my water towers on this island, and everyone died because of the pollution in the water. And I didn't notice because I've been building over here, because of course I have. I also apparently missed some water for some of these warehouses in here. Yeah, I didn't notice this was happening because I was building stuff, basically. So the bad news is everyone is dead. The bad news, I guess, as well, is that we don't have enough workers for anything. But the good news is that the numbers are recovering. We have no demand for anything right now. We're not going to have demand for anything right. Look at this. Look, I haven't done this. I haven't done this in years, possibly like 8 years since I last caused this, but it's okay. There is this common misconception in City Skylines that abandoned buildings won't automatically bulldoze. They absolutely do. I think after 4 weeks, they will automatically bulldoze, or if there is demand for the type of zoning that an abandoned building is taking up, then it will also bulldoze. So you'll notice that there are some buildings in here that haven't been abandoned. I can assure you they all were. And you can see a couple of these guys now popping up as the population increases. So this is bad. It could have been worse. Yes, we're losing $121,000 right now, but that is also because of the simple fact that however many people we had here are now all gone. I'll tell you what's also going to be an absolute pain is the death wave that comes about from the complete replacement of this population essentially all at once. So yeah, I'm hoping the population recovers before I go broke. That would be that would be really bad because I've just spent like 4 hours just replacing all of this stuff out here. Seriously, this episode was I was supposed to sit down and be like, I'll do a 45 minutes in and out. We'll get City Skylines recorded for the day. It's 4 hours later. And, yeah, I was just building all this stuff. I was looking at this. I'm like, man, why are there no workers? I zoom out and this is why. This is why there's no workers. At least this space hasn't been touched. Things are okay over here. People are still coming and going in and out of the airport, which is lovely. It's just the rest, just everyone's dead. Everyone's dead. So, yeah, I am going to wrap things up here for today because really all I've got to do now is just leave this game running for the next hour or two and see what happens, because the population growth has slowed down something fierce and I'm really, really concerned about that. So here's what's going to happen. One of two things is going to happen. Either the next episode will pick up with a rebuilt city, or the next episode will pick up where I've had to go and rebuild all of this and it's going to look slightly different because I've had to rebuild it off camera. Basically, the results will still be largely the same, but man, oh, I can't believe this. I actually cannot believe this. Good Lord. All right. That's going to do us for today. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'm really disappointed in myself, but it'll sort itself out. I just got to let the game run for a little bit. Thank you for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.